I don't know if I should even be talking about this. A few weeks ago, I was in a bad place. I'm a 30-year-old freelance graphic designer. I spent my days locked away in my small apartment, surrounded by unfinished projects. The city was supposed to bring new opportunities, but instead, I felt lost. One night, I was trying to break through a creative block. That's when I found this strange forum. I didn't mean to, but I clicked on a link that pulled me in. The threads were different. They talked about internet mysteries and creepy stories. At first, it felt exciting, like I was in on a secret. I kept reading. Each post made my heart race. They were about things that felt personal, like these people were sharing intense experiences. It was dark, but I was fascinated. I couldn't stop scrolling. I even found live feeds of empty places, like alleyways confusingly familiar to me. I had this uneasy feeling but ignored it. I told myself it was probably just my mind playing tricks. Over the next few days, I found myself checking back on that forum. More users joined, sharing stories that mirrored my life. I felt this strange connection. Threads made my stomach twist. I often grabbed my phone, hoping for a distraction, but only found silence. I thought I heard whispers too, soft ones. I didn't know if it was the city noises. I could never tell. One night, I was deep in it again. I clicked on a link and found a site filled with weird digital artifacts. They were unsettling, like pieces of a puzzle that didn't fit. I pressed my lips together, trying to calm myself down. The air felt heavy. I panicked. Was someone watching me through my screen? Just then my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated, then let it go to voicemail. My heart raced. It didn't feel like a scam. I shook it off, convincing myself it was nothing. Days passed, and I went back to that site. I scrolled until I saw a post that stopped me cold. "Are you paying attention?" I felt the blood drain from my face. The details were disturbing, too accurate, too close to home. I didn't want to read anymore. I thought about looking away, but I couldn't. Then, there it was. My name. I froze. A chill shot through me. Someone knew me. The internet couldn't reach into my life like this. I wanted to slam my computer shut, but I felt paralyzed. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Suddenly, I saw a shadow by the window. I spun around, but nothing was there. My apartment felt even quieter. I remembered the whispers again, and I felt like I was being watched. It all felt wrong. I was scared. I had stumbled into something I couldn't understand. I wanted to leave the internet behind, but it clung to me like a ghost. I slept fitfully that night. Every creak in the old building made me bolt upright, heart racing. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head. Just a weird moment, right? But deep down, I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I spent the next day wandering around my apartment, distraction barely taking hold. By nightfall, anxiety twisted in my stomach again. I took a deep breath, my fingers trembling slightly as I reached for my laptop. Part of me wanted to dive back in. Another part screamed to stay away. But curiosity clawed at me, so I opened the browser and went back to the forum. This time, the atmosphere felt different. Posts were escalating in intensity. Many users were sharing updates about events happening in their lives. Chilling events. I skimmed through threads, my heart sinking with each story. One user recounted how they received messages that seemed to predict things that happened moments later. Another described shadows appearing in mirrors, reflecting people who weren't there. I swallowed hard. Then, I noticed a new thread titled, "It knows you." My chest tightened. The thread was filled with posts from a variety of users, all describing surreal experiences resembling my own. Each one had detailed moments that felt too familiar. My palms were clammy as I read. They spoke about being watched, feeling a presence lurking even when they were alone. In the middle of my apprehensive scrolling, something caught my eye. A user had posted screenshots of private messages they received from an account with no name. The messages were eerily specific, outlining events only the recipient knew. I couldn't help but feel a sinking feeling that I might be next. As I read, my phone chimed again, another unknown number. This time, I answered it without thinking. "Hello?" My breath hitched. All I heard was static. A chilling silence filled the line. I hung up, feeling sweat bead on my forehead. Each moment intensified the sense of dread coiling in my gut. I clicked out of the thread, but found another post, just below a live feed of an apartment building. It was dark, but I recognized it. My heart raced. That building was only a few blocks away. I wanted to look away, but I was drawn in. The feed was empty, and I felt foolish for even considering the things I was seeing. Still, my eyes were glued to the screen. Just then, I noticed movement in the corner of the screen, an indistinct figure passing between two cars. My breath caught in my throat. Was I really seeing this? I squinted at the monitor, trying to make sense of it, when suddenly the feed cut out. Then everything went dark. The screen went entirely black, save for one glaring message. "Are you ready?" Panic surged. I frantically clicked around, but nothing worked. My heart was pounding. I knew I had to act, to escape this rabbit hole before it consumed me entirely. But just as I stood up, I heard it again. The whispers. They were louder now, more insistent, echoing through the cramped space of my apartment. Deep down, I knew I was no longer alone. I stood frozen, heart racing. The whispers curled around me, wrapping tighter with each breath. They filled the silence of my apartment, a chorus of overlapping voices, each sounding like half-formed thoughts just out of reach. I felt my skin prickle as I scanned the room. Shadows danced along the walls, and I shifted uneasily, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination. I looked back at my laptop. The screen was still black, the message burning itself into my mind. I had to know what was happening. With a shaky hand, I pressed the power button. The screen flickered back to life, but only for a moment. Just when I thought I might find some answers, it displayed a blue screen error that felt like a punch to my gut. Frustrated, I took a deep breath. I couldn't let it take control. I needed to get outside, clear my head. I grabbed my jacket and stepped out into the night, trying to shake the dread that clung to me. As I walked the streets, the chill in the air matched the eerie feeling stuck in my chest. I turned a corner toward the nearby park. The sounds of the city faded, replaced by leaves whispering in the wind. I paused there, trying to catch my breath, but the sensation of being watched returned, sharper than before. I thought about my apartment, the dirt and dust gathering like reservations waiting for a guest. Should I just go home? But part of me felt the oppressive weight of that uncertainty bearing down. Then I saw a flicker of movement by the old oak tree. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, a trick of the shadows, but then I noticed a figure lurking back there, just beyond the reach of the lamplight. My heart thudded in my chest as I squinted into the dark. It looked almost human, but something was off. I took a step back, heart in my throat. "Hello?" My voice came out shaky, swallowed by the night. No response. Just the rustling leaves overhead, and the increasing tension in the air. I knew I should turn and run, but I was rooted in place, a deer caught in headlights. With a deep breath, I decided to take a step toward the tree, but when it happened. A screeching sound pierced the night, like metal on metal. I jerked back, the abruptness nearly landing me on the ground. My thoughts scattered, panic surged within me. Somehow, that noise felt connected to the feed, the messages, everything. Suddenly my phone buzzed violently in my pocket, snapping me from my thoughts. It was yet another unknown number. Every instinct screamed at me to ignore it, but instead, I pulled it out. Staring at the screen, my hand shook as I hit answer. "Hello?" I whispered, bracing myself. Silence. Then a voice came through, low and distorted, barely recognizable. "It's watching you." My blood ran cold. Before I could react, the call disconnected. I stood in the dark, heart hammering, breath quickening. I felt trapped, like whatever was out there was closing in, making its grand entrance. That's when I heard it again, the whispers, but now they carried my name. "Don't hide," they beckoned. "It wants you to join." Fear surged through me as I stumbled backward, and I turned to run. But I wasn't safe, not from what had already found me. I ran, my feet pounding against the pavement, heart racing louder than the whispers trailing behind me. The trees loomed like silent sentinels as I dashed past, their branches seeming to claw at the air. My breath came in short gasps, each one filled with anxiety and the metallic taste of fear. I didn't know where I was heading. I just needed to put distance between me and that figure, that voice. I turned sharply down an alleyway, its shadows wrapping around me like a cloak. I pressed my back against the cold brick wall, hoping to catch my breath, but the whispers continued, echoing around me. They were closer now, swirling through the alley, mingling with the sound of my heart. "Join us," they sang softly, each syllable laced with menace. I tightened my fists, willing the noise away. My mind raced to make sense of everything, but all I could think about was escape. As the whispers faded slightly, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I could get to my friend's place. Jessie lived just a few blocks away. Her apartment always felt safe to me. I was about to take a step forward when I heard something, a rustle, then a low voice. "Do you see it?" The question hung in the air, heavy and inviting. I strained to hear more, curiosity pushing me closer. The voice was recognizable, but I couldn't place it. I sought the source but found only darkness deep within the alley. Instinct kicked in, and I took off again, this time heading back toward the main street. The park was empty now, save for shadows dancing under the faint glow of streetlights. I could feel the weight of being watched again, heavier than before. Just as I emerged from the alley, my phone buzzed once more. I nearly dropped it, heart racing again. Another unknown number. With trembling hands, I answered before I could think better of it. "Hello?" I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. A sickly sweet chuckle echoed through the line, followed by the same distorted voice. "You can't escape what knows you." My stomach twisted as the voice distorted further, its laughter reverberating like a nightmare. I hung up and looked around. The streets felt foreign, suffocating with a looming darkness. Then something caught my eye, a flicker from my phone's screen. An email notification. The sender was unknown, but the subject line made my blood run cold. "You can't hide from the truth." I paused, hesitating. Part of me wanted to flee, to disconnect from this nightmare completely. But another part, the part that craved answers, nudged me to open it. Against my better judgment, I tapped on the message. The screen lit up with a series of links, each one a strange name that sent chills down my spine. "For unsettling websites. The truth that awaits." God, no, I muttered to myself, realizing I was teetering on the edge of something far worse than I imagined. Before I could second-guess myself, I clicked the first link. The world around me fell away as the whispers crescendoed, and I knew then that what came next would change everything, and not just for me. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet, sending me spiraling into a darkness that seemed to pulse and breathe. I wasn't just looking for answers anymore. I was about to dive headfirst into the unknown, where the truth waited, hungry and alive. The moment I clicked the link, everything changed. The darkness closed in, not just around me, but within me as well. It was like pulling a thread that unraveled something deep and sinister. My surroundings blurred, and I felt the weight of secrets pressing against my chest. Suddenly, I was not standing on the street anymore. I found myself sitting in front of a dimly lit computer screen, the glow illuminating strange symbols that danced across the display. It felt surreal, like I had been transported into a different realm where the rules of reality didn't apply. A chill ran down my spine as words began to materialize, paragraphs that twisted and turned, riddled with cryptic messages and unspeakable horrors. "Find the door," one line read. I looked around, expecting to see a door, but the room was bare. Just me and that eerie screen. The whispers returned, more defined this time, chanting in rhythmic unison. "Find the door. Find the truth." I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to drown them out. Thoughts raced through my mind. Was this the truth I had been seeking? The truth that had dragged me into this nightmare? With shaky hands, I tried to close the browser, but it wouldn't let me. Instead, a new screen popped up. It was a forum filled with discussions that made my skin crawl. People were sharing their experiences with something called the Watcher. They described vivid nightmares, unexplainable events, and an overwhelming sense of being hunted. Who is the Watcher? I whispered to myself, a knot tightening in my stomach. I clicked on a thread titled, "Escape the Grasp." Participants shared links that led to the other unsettling websites. Each recommendation felt like stepping deeper into a maze with no way out. Something compelled me to keep reading, to search for answers in the chaos. I skimmed through posts that detailed the history of those who had encountered the Watcher. It was not just a figure, it was a manifestation of one's deepest fears. Each victim had described a unique experience, their own secrets laid bare in front of the entity that lurked in the shadows. But then, one post caught my eye. "I think I've found a way to fight it," the user wrote. My heart raced. "It feeds on fear," they continued. "Face it directly, and it loses power." I felt a spark of defiance. Could I confront whatever this was? Before I could gather my thoughts, a sound reverberated behind me, a rustling. The unmistakable feeling of being watched intensified. I spun around, but the room remained empty. My breath quickened. The whispers grew louder, now a mix of laughter and taunts. "You're too late," they echoed. "You cannot challenge the inevitable." Then, without warning, the screen flickered, and I was jolted back to the street. My heart pounded in my chest. The world was the same, but I could feel a shift. A resolve had formed inside me. I had to face the Watcher. That S when I saw it, a shadowy figure at the end of the street, just out of reach. I wasn't going to let fear consume me. I took a step forward, ready to confront the truth head-on before I lost myself completely. The figure at the end of the street shuddered in the faint light, its shape flickering like a candleless flame. My instincts screamed at me to turn back, to run from whatever nightmares lay ahead. But I clenched my fists and pressed forward. I was done being a passive observer. As I approached, the figure's outline sharpened. It seemed to pulse with a life of its own, and dread washed over me. But there was also an undeniable curiosity. What was this thing? What did it want? I called out, my voice trembling slightly. "Who are you?" The street echoed my question, amplifying my uncertainty. For a moment, the figure stood still, almost as if it was considering my challenge. Then it stepped forward, and I could see it more clearly. A long coat, the collar turned up, obscuring the face. But I could feel its eyes boring into me. A sudden rush of memories flooded my mind, fragments of the forum discussions, the warnings. This was the Watcher. "You've chosen to confront your fears, haven to you." The figure's voice was a cold whisper, wrapping around me like ice. I felt my heart race. "But do you know what that means?" I swallowed hard, fear mixing with a strange thrill. "I'm not afraid of you," I replied, though I wasn't sure I believed the words. "Fear is a powerful thing," it said, almost sadly. "It can consume you, or you can choose to wield it." The words echoed in my mind, a challenge. Something flickered in my peripheral vision, and I glanced away. A series of shadows danced along the sidewalk, an unsettling reminder of my own doubts, lurking just beyond my line of sight. I turned back to the figure, determination flaring within me. "What do I have to do?" I asked. The watcher paused, its form shifting hesitantly, like smoke in the wind. "To face me, you must journey deeper. The truth lies hidden, and you will need to find it before it finds you." Before I could process the warning, the shadows spiraled around me, and I felt myself being pulled back toward the dark realm I had encountered earlier. Panic surged. I wasn't done here. I grasped for anything solid, desperate to hold on to this moment. In a flash, I was yanked away from the street, back into that dimly lit room filled with flickering symbols. The computer screen glowed brighter, illuminating a new message. "The door awaits. Will you open it?" My heart raced as I recognized the twist of fate. The watcher had given me a choice. I felt the tension crackling in the air. Out of instinct, I reached for the mouse, hovering over the bold text. Would it be a trap? Or the key to my freedom? As my finger hovered, a sudden noise echoed behind me, a loud thud, followed by frantic breathing. Someone was in the room with me. I wasn't alone anymore. I spun around, and my blood ran cold. I wasn't sure what I expected to find, but the sight of another person joining this chaotic nightmare filled me with terror. I hadn't even made my decision yet. Now, more lives might be at stake. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice shaking. But instead of an answer, there was a chilling grin on their face. Suddenly, the computer screen flickered, and everything went dark. I blinked in the darkness, trying to make sense of what had just happened. My heart pounded in my ears as I squinted, hoping the shadows would reveal something familiar. But it was too quiet. Then I heard it again, a rustle, almost like the soft scrape of shoes against the floor. It sent chills spiraling down my spine. I wanted to call out again, to demand answers, but my voice faltered. In the pitch-black silence, I felt along the desk, searching for the computer. My fingertips brushed against the keyboard, and I pressed a few keys, praying for light. The screen flickered back to life, illuminating the room in an eerie glow. And there it was, the figure standing just a few feet away. It was a person, but the look in their eyes hinted at something unnatural. There was no doubt now. They were part of this nightmare too. "Do you want to know the truth?" they hissed, voice laced with a dark excitement. A part of me wanted to run. I had just tried to confront my fears, but now they were more real than ever. "What do you know about the Watcher?" I managed to ask, hoping to buy myself some time. A smile split their face wider, revealing teeth that glinted in the faint light. "More than you can imagine. The Watcher is not just a figure in the shadows. It's a part of you too. Your doubts, your fears, they come alive in this space." As dread washed over me, a sense of urgency kicked in. I needed to regain control. "How do I stop it?" They chuckled, a low, mirthless sound. "Stopping the Watcher is just the beginning. You have to confront what it shows you. Only then can you move on. But it won't be easy. It will test you." I took a deep breath, the weight of their words pressing down on me like a lead blanket. I had already started down this path, whether I liked it or not. "I'm not running anymore. Just tell me what I need to do." Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through our tense exchange. The computer started to glow brighter, illuminating something in the corner of the screen. The message, "Enter the door," pulsed with urgency, as if it were alive. "That's what you have to choose," they said, eyes gleaming with excitement. "Do you have the courage to step through?" I remembered the Watcher's warning about fear. It was either consuming me or giving me strength. But the person in front of me seemed like a wild card, their intentions unclear. My gut twisted with uncertainty. "Is that really my only option?" I asked, hesitating. The figure leaned closer, their face mere inches from mine. It's the only way to find the truth. Are you ready to face your own reflection? Before I could answer, the room around me began to ripple as if it were made of water. My heart raced, and the shadows from before surged forward. The familiarity of the room faded, replaced by the urge to step through the unknown. I felt the cold tendrils of fear creeping back in, but this time I pushed them away. I wasn't going to be a victim anymore. That was when I saw it, an outline forming at the edge of the screen. A door, slightly ajar, beckoning me with a hidden promise of revelations. "Do it," the sinister voice urged. "Step through and see." With a deep breath, I made a choice. I lunged toward the glowing threshold, ready to embrace whatever awaited me on the other side. I stumbled forward, and the moment I crossed the threshold, the world around me shifted abruptly. 1 second I was in my dark office, and the next, I found myself standing in an empty room drenched in bright, flickering light. My heart raced. The walls were adorned with paintings that twisted and warped as if they had minds of their own. Shrieking colors spun in chaotic patterns, and I felt dizzy from the disorienting sight. A weight settled on my chest, pressing down as if the air had suddenly grown thick. "Welcome," said the figure behind me, their voice cutting through the surreal atmosphere like a knife. I turned to look at them, but they shimmered like a mirage, almost blending into the surroundings. "You're in the realm of truths and shadows. What is this place?" My voice trembled as I stepped further into the room, my surroundings shifting with each step, blurring the borders between reality and illusion. There were no walls that defined the space, and any direction I looked felt like it was expanding endlessly. "It's where your fears manifest," they replied, their grin widening. "Here, you'll confront what the Watcher shows you. The harder you resist, the stronger it becomes." My fists clenched. I thought I had moved beyond my fears, but now they were creeping back in. "I'm ready to face it," I declared, though uncertainty knotted in my stomach. "What do I need to do?" The flickering light intensified, and the paintings started to flicker scenes in and out of existence, a childhood memory, a moment of failure, faces of people who betrayed me. Each image forced me to relive the hurt. My breath quickened. With every flash, the figure's smile grew wider. "Are you ready?" they taunted, shadows swirling closer. "You must pick one memory to confront. Only then can you move forward." I glanced at the images, the relentless tide of emotions threatening to pull me under. I felt heat rise in my chest, the urge to recoil, to shut my eyes and escape. But something inside me pushed back against that instinct. Maybe this was my chance to end the cycle. I hesitated, scanning the memories before me. My gaze landed on a scene, my high school graduation day, the moment I felt so proud, but was met with an unexpected dismissal from someone I had cared about. The echoes of laughter mixed with judgment rang in my ears. It was raw, and I fought to swallow the bitterness that surged up. "Choose," the figure whispered. "Let us see how deep the pain runs." Without thinking, I stepped toward that moment, ready to dive in. To confront the rejection, to relive the anger and sadness. Like steel meeting flesh, I forced the memory to crash over me. Everything went dark. Suddenly, a voice broke through the silence. "What do you see?" The ground seemed to shift beneath me. The figure had vanished, leaving me alone to face the echoes of my past. Fear clawed at my insides, but now I had no choice. I needed to confront this if I wanted to break free from the Watcher's grasp. With a roar in my heart, I stepped forward into the darkness, determined to find the truth buried beneath the surface. It was time to reclaim my narrative. I opened my eyes to find myself in a familiar setting, the high school gymnasium, decorated for graduation. The air buzzed with excitement, but it felt different now. The cheerful chatter felt more like a mocking chorus, echoing around me. I looked down at my younger self, dressed in a cap and gown, a smile plastered on my face. But as I scanned the crowd, my heart dropped. There she was, the girl who lingered in my thoughts, even all these years later. She was laughing with her friends, giving me a dismissive glance that whispered of betrayal. I felt the dread settle into my bones. This was the moment I had tried to forget, the moment I realized my worth was fleeting in her eyes. "What do you want from me?" I shouted into the void, my voice cracking against the high ceiling. The laugh track snapped off, and the crowd went silent. I turned to see shadows dance on the walls, twisting into faces that I had tried to escape. They were part of my past, people whose opinions haunted me long after I left this place. The figure appeared again, watching from the edge of the shadows. "Remember how it felt," they said, their words dripping with malice. "You can't move on until you understand this pain." Suddenly, the scene shifted. I found myself back in the moment when the dismissal occurred. My heart pounded, and I could feel the sting of tears burning in my eyes. Part of me wanted to yell at her, to make her feel the anguish I felt that day. Instead, I steeled myself to confront her, to unpack the emotions and heal from them. "You don't define me," I whispered, though doubt crept into my heart. "Is that really true?" She shot back, her eyes narrowing, a mixture of concern and callousness flashing across her face. "You thought I was special. But I never saw you that way." More images flickered around me, faces morphing into the wisps of disappointment that filled my life. I gasped as memories tore through me like shattered glass, lost jobs, moments of shame, and friendships that faded. "No! I refuse to let you take control of me any longer," I shouted, my voice louder this time. As I forced the words out, the figures in the shadows twisted into something more ominous. The air crackled, and I felt a pull toward an unseen force, as if they were ready to drag me back into my old self. "Do you think you can escape?" The figure laughed, closing the distance between us. "You're still afraid, you can't deny that." I struggled to find solid ground under me. The room began to warp again, flashing between memories at a dizzying rate. Then, in the chaos, something caught my eye. A glimmering portal, pulsing with warmth and inviting me to step through. "That's the way out," a softer voice echoed, catching my attention, "but you can't leave until you confront your truth." One memory stood out amidst the chaos. It flickered with urgency, a fleeting moment of triumph, a time when I stood tall, full of potential. I reached for it, but just as my fingers were about to touch the surface, the shadows surged towards me, encroaching faster than I could react. "Run!" I heard a whisper, but I didn't know where. In an instant, the world around me spun furiously, and a flash of panic seized me as the shadows began to tighten their grip. I had to decide, stay entangled in my past or take my chance with the unknown. Before I could think twice, I leaped toward the glowing portal. The moment I broke through the shimmering portal, the chaos around me dissolved. I found myself outside, standing on a quiet street beneath a canopy of stars. The air felt different here, clearer, lighter, as if I had shed a heavy weight. I looked around, but there was no sign of the ominous figure, the swirling memories, or even the watcher. Just a silence that wrapped around me like a warm blanket. As I took a moment to gather my bearings, a part of me still felt scattered, like pieces of a shattered mirror waiting to be put back together. I took a deep breath, the night air filling my lungs, and slowly began to walk. Each step felt like a small victory in reclaiming my narrative, pushing back against the shadows that had lingered for so long. But as I walked, unanswered questions loomed over me like storm clouds. Was this truly an escape? Or was I merely delaying a confrontation? I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just entered a truce with my fears, rather than vanquished them. Doubts crept in, the whispers I had heard earlier lingered just beyond my consciousness, teasing the edges of my newfound clarity. I turned a corner and spotted a familiar alleyway, the one I had run through in panic just days before. A shiver ran down my spine as I recalled the dark figure, The phone calls, the messages. Instinctively, I pulled out my phone, half expecting it to buzz with another unknown number, but it remained silent, just like the streets around me. Anxiety settled in my gut, a lingering remnant of the darkness I'd been enmeshed in. Yet, as I passed the entrance of the alley, I noticed something glimmering in the dim light, a crumpled piece of paper lying atop a discarded box. Curiosity drew me closer. I bent down and picked it up. Scrawled in hurried handwriting were words that felt like a warning. "It's not over. Beware of the signs." My heart began to race again. Was this another trap, or merely a fear mirroring my own doubts? I pocketed the note, uncertainty nagging at me. Just as I turned to leave, I caught a flicker of movement and echo from the corner of my eye. The familiar shapes formed, a darker figure emerging from the shadows, a ripple of malice that sent me reeling. There it was again, the constant feeling of being watched, the invisible weight pressing down on me. I bolted from the alley, urgency propelling me forward. With every beat of my heart, I could feel fragments of memories chasing after me, fear, shame, doubt. They threatened to swallow me whole. My feet pounded against the pavement, the night air rushing past my face, but the whispers rose again, a desperate chorus echoing in the night. I reached my apartment, heart pounding in frustration and fear. I slammed the door behind me and leaned against it, trying to shake the dread that clung to me. But the quiet was so unsettling. Was I truly free? As I stood there, my breath hitching, I glanced at my laptop on the desk. The glow of the screen seemed to flicker in rhythm with my pulse. I knew I should take a break from it all, but the allure of the internet, the forum, the place where everything had started, hung above me like a haunting refrain. I took an unsteady step toward it, doubt gnawing at my resolve. Should I even look? What if the darkness was still lurking, waiting for my curiosity to draw me back in? But what if I could finally uncover the truth behind all of this? In that moment, standing in my darkened apartment, I let out a ragged breath, torn between stepping back into the wild unknown and accepting the ambiguity of my journey. I still wondered about the Watcher, the tangled web of connections that linked me to it. Had I truly escaped, or was it simply lying in wait, hidden within the shadows of my own mind? I moved to my laptop, hands trembling over the keyboard. Whatever lay ahead wouldn't be easy, but maybe the first step to understanding my truth was to confront what had haunted me thus far. I felt a strange comfort in the uncertainty of it all, knowing I had taken a step forward, even if the darkness still lingered in the corners of my world. As the screen lit up, indecision flared within me like a flickering candle, but deep inside, I knew the battle was merely beginning. I reached out and began to type, ready or maybe not for whatever awaited me on the other side.